everybody's having a good day today. We are live. Looks like we're ready to get this thing started, guys. Here's the deal. We're going to be talking today again about the market. I always look backwards into our market and say, what is the market happening? I am looking at Houston in general. So we're looking at the whole MLS. This is everything across the entire board for the market in Houston, the real estate market in Houston. So let's look at this Monday market recap. If we're looking and we're comparing last week, you're starting to see the thing that I said was coming around the corner. It looks like I didn't get the update on this little bad boy here for that 3.5 months. But if you look right there and you go down, I'm skipping right to it. It says 3.5 months of inventory. The reality is that that did not update correctly. Actually, it's not updated at all. I am a goofball, and we are starting this out of order. So this is Randy Olive being a terrible, terrible market leader. So anybody who's joining us live, watch this. I'm going to have to go in here and rechange all of this. I'm like, something is not right about this. So notes to the left, notes to the right. We're going to go in here and we're going to make everything all right. I'm a poet, guys. You didn't even know it. So look, there we go. 3.4 months of inventory just changed. Notes to the right. Let's change this bad boy up. We're going to go over here. We're going to grab that guy right there. Last week's data, going to pop in over there. All right, guys. So here's a code. Now we're ready to look at our updates and look at our market. So I apologize for anybody who's watching us right now going, what in the world is happening? It's Randy Olive. Randy Olive is happening. So I want to give you guys what's happening in the market in all of Houston. If you look at the new listings, not a whole lot has changed in that. But if you start scrolling down, you're going to see the sold number 3,073. We haven't seen the sold in a past 7-day break that 3,000 mark in about a month or so. Like it's been longer than that, but since we've been looking at and tracking this week by week, we have not seen it crest the 3,000. So looking at the sold data has gone up. Now, I think there's a lot to do with that, right? There's always a story. When we look at the numbers, there's always a story, and people like to craft their version of the story. I just want to talk about what the possibilities of the stories are, right? Because it always depends what's happening inside of real estate. And here's what I believe is happening if we're looking at some of the stuff that's going on. 3.4 months of inventory. We're still seeing an influx of the buyers hitting the market over the past, since COVID has happened. Like in the first couple of weeks of COVID, it pulled back. Since then, the institutions for lending money have watched the interest rates drop, which creates this buzz about getting into the market and seeing what your houses can do. We have seen that influx. And I think we've seen that trend, that 3-month trend about what's happening next. And now there's a lot of curiosities. And here's where all those curiosities are landing. I'm telling you, these things are influencing and making a difference in the market right now. Number one, schools. I've talked about this a couple of times. It used to be this herd of people going to try and get their homes done and knocked out, sold, and transferred into a new school district, into new schools. Having the before school scenario has been a very popular trend in real estate. Well, guess what? Schools decided we don't know what we're doing yet. We say we're going to school. We say we're not going to school, leaving it up to the parents. The parents are saying, well, I don't want my kid to go to school looking like a prison. I don't want it. Whatever your opinion may be. We've got all kinds of different opinions happening in the school system. And so I think that has pumped the brakes for a lot of people who are looking to get the ball rolling. And so we're seeing that happen. We're still seeing mortgage rates, though. They're still doing their little thing, which is inspiring a lot of people to be curious about buying. Well, there have been those who have seen all these little neighborhood things happening. And it's like, well, I might want to sell my house. My neighbor just sold their house. I might want to sell my house. And they begin to look into their equity and realize, well, crap, yeah, this is actually a really good season to mix my ability to get top dollar for my home and to get a really good rate on the trade-off or the upgrade for my next home. So there are a lot of things that are happening in this world, this market. I don't know that we can pinpoint any one thing, and yet each market has its own little microcosm that's happening. You look at inventory inside of certain neighborhoods, it's super low. And so you're seeing a lot of activity happening in those spaces. And you're seeing people who are testing the pricing of the market. You see people who are underpricing homes dramatically to see if they can't create this synergy and raise the price through this auction process. So you're seeing pricing happen a little bit all over the place. You're seeing the buyers happen a little bit all over the place. You're seeing the sellers happen a little bit all over the place. The market is hot. The market is right now a little bit inconsistent, except for the fact that low inventory drives the supply and demand equation. And I think that's the only thing that we can really lay into is that supply and demand moment is really happening when the market inventory is going low. And if you look at it right now, 3.4 months of inventory is super, super low. And it is, I think, over the next week, still going to trend down a little bit. I'm curious about that. I think it's going to trend down. Now, here's what I have been paying attention to. Some of the people who are out there on the lender side of things, I've been listening to the people who are doing the lending. Lenders have seen a little bit of a slowdown in applications. And yet, as you look at that, comparing it to last year, it still spiked. And so I don't think the buyers have gone anywhere. I think the buyers have just slowed down to be a little bit more cautious about, okay, so one, forbearance. What's happening with the forbearance thing? People who have homes that are in forbearance, what are they going to have to do when that comes to call? Okay, so you got the forbearance thing kind of going along. You've got the school systems going along. You still have some curiosities about the economy. The economy hasn't really shown us any signs of like this is going to get into a normal phase. There's still a lot of questions and a lot of curiosities about the opening up of cities. In Houston, we've watched this like, yeah, let's do it. It's like, oh no, we did it too soon. It's like, oh yeah, but now we're gonna do it. Oh yeah, but so there's just the most consistent thing that we can say is the market is wildly inconsistent, except for the inventory is super low. And that's just because of the cautious nature of what's happening right now inside of real estate. And so even though your realtors out there saying the market is hot and you should jump into it, still think you should enter it with caution and enter it with somebody who actually understands the economics of what's happening around your specific neighborhood. Okay. So, all of that being said, the market is still doing a really phenomenal job of demanding homes. Like homes, the real estate market, the homes are good and the homes are moving and everything is happening really well. It's just getting into that space now to where as the fall begins to roll around and the natural slow happens, is it actually going to slow down? Are we going to see this resurgence? Is it going to be an extended summer? Like, what are we going to see happening in the next couple of months? And so, if you go back and you compare it to the spring, if you look at the market in Houston, it's always a bell curve, right? So, you've got your early months, there's low action activity. And then in the spring months, there's a ramp up. In the summer months, there's this still high, but it's going to start to trend down. And then you've got your winter months where it begins to slow again, right? So you've got the bell curve. I'm curious if that bell curve isn't going to extend a little bit out into the fall and that we're just going to see more consistency of buyers. So when we look at what happened in March, you see data where everybody said, "Oh no, what's happening?" and they all slowed down. Like there was a dramatic slow. That dramatic slowness creates a little bit of a delay in what's going to happen. Like, so it's going to be 30, 60, 90 days before we see anything come to fruition from that. And so we've got this dramatic slow. And then all of a sudden people realize, oh no, we can actually still buy. The mortgage rates went crazy and all that good stuff. And so people flooded the market again to go buy. Well, those inventory challenges that we had or that we're having right now, they started back in March. And there's two things that happened in there. One is that people who sat around a little bit created this moment of inventory crisis. Okay. So we waited, we paused before the hot market. And so the buyers were already out there. The trend of the inventory went low. The buyers that were already out there bought what was available and they brought it and it was a great deal. It was really a good thing. So they bought what was available. Well, now that inventory to catch up, the cautious people are still cautious. The excited people are still excited. And so you've got this upper echelon of those who are highly motivated that are out there on the market right now. And so now it's the catch up of those who are like, oh crap, I missed the boat. Maybe I should get my house on the market and pull my equity out of my home and see what I can upgrade into. And so you're seeing that kind of catching up moment happening. What I'm curious about is as that catching up moment happens, are we going to see a new flood of homes hit the market to where maybe now the inventory drives up, especially as real estate agents are pushing the conversation about inventory? And as we push the conversation about inventory, it's going to create curiosity, and those who actually have equity may find themselves putting their houses on the market. So, are we going to see this new flood of houses on the market, which raises the inventory, which balances the market out a little bit? And then, where you usually see this dip happen in the winter months, are we going to see that dip actually spread out a little bit and see those deals start to happen and see some of the motivation start to pick up? Are we going to start to see some of the builder inventory catch up to us? That's going to be a really big thing too. A lot of the builders put the brakes on everything they were doing in the building world. And so you're not super low new build inventory. You've got low resale inventory. Well, the new build inventory is going to take time to catch up. That's going to take 5 to 6 months to catch up. The resale inventory, it's catching up. And so Are we going to watch this kind of delayed, almost tsunami, right? When a tsunami hits, it's that second wave that's coming. Are we going to see a final kind of moment where the second wave comes in and it might extend that bell curve for the summer months? I mean, for the fall months, and we're going to see a bit of this extended summer. And so that's what the market's looking like in Houston right now. So just kind of taking that week by week and reviewing what's happening, you're watching the months of inventory drop. And I do think that now we're starting to see a little bit of that frenzy for price is going to start happening. And that's going to create this new wave of inventory. I do think we're going to see it rise. And I think it's going to have this really big rush to the table once everybody realizes what's happening with schools. So I think schools are still a big factor. Obviously, COVID's a huge factor because that is part of schools. The delayed gratification from those who are curious about what was going to happen in the spring are now in the market and they're starting to see some of those things. So there's a little bit of that delay. The builders catching up. And then obviously having the mortgage company still competing to be able to help people have higher purchasing power is a really big deal. Here's what's really awesome as I've rambled and actually ruined the very first of this. Here's one of the things that I think is really awesome. Everybody has leverage. All right. Everybody has leverage in this market right now. I remember about 4 years ago, if you're a buyer in a low income bracket and you were going out to buy your first home, you were competing with every investor that was out there. There's this investor frenzy in Houston. Well, there's still a lot of investors inside of Houston, but I'm watching a lot of people who have purchasing power, those who are strapped for cash, those who are strapped for their potential and all that good stuff. You know, those first time home buyer jitters and all that good stuff. I'm seeing those first time home buyers. This is really awesome. Have the strength to purchase homes, right? So regardless of your price point, everybody has a really great opportunity right now to purchase a home and to find that moment of, gosh, just elation by owning your own property. There's something wonderful about it. And that's why I love doing this. This is just fun to watch people's eyes light up. So the deals are still out there to be had. It is still a seller's market, but you're not seeing these like wild, crazy moments. There still is a lot of great opportunity for every buyer and every price point. There's a lot of X factors still in the market, but as we watch, I think we might see that bell curve extend a little bit and create a lot of, I think, a lot of great positive momentum through the winter time for real estate, and especially in Houston. So I don't think you've missed your window. If you're out there wondering if you've missed your window, you haven't. But it is a good time to start having the great conversations with your real estate agent about is now the right time for you, and they can look at the neighborhood and give you the best answer for that. All right, guys. Hope y'all are having a great day. Sorry for the rambling and the just terrible, terrible opening segment where I totally botched the graphics, but now we've got the right ones up. 2,432 listings, 3,173 sold, and we're still seeing a really huge imbalance in the new listings to the sold. And so let's keep it up. Let's get some houses on the market. If you ever need our help, by all means, reach out. RandyOlive at KW.com. You see all my information scrolling at the bottom as well. And you guys go be amazing.